I like the way you really explain to people how the internet works, how our computers work. People really don't think about it. You talk in your book about the vulnerable undersea cables. That's really getting into the weeds, so to speak, but you think people really need to know that?
Well, look, I think, well, I do. I think you need to know at some level how a car works when you get in and drive it, or how a plane flies when you get in and fly it. Otherwise, you're just going to blindly trust whatever it is. So our modern lives are full of examples of technologies that transformed us, and undersea cables was one that transformed. Connecting Europe and the U.S., when we did, was transformational. Transformational on the diplomatic, commercial, everything. The internet's transformational too. It's about sharing information very quickly. So I think it's, I don't know, I think it's kind of important to have a little bit of understanding about it. I'm not saying everybody needs to understand DNS or be able to cite their IP number or any of that sort of stuff, but you gotta kind of know how stuff is connected. There's lots of layers. You know, one of the very interesting things I discovered researching, one of my publishers said, you know, this book's got a lot of interesting ideas, you need to back them all up. So, okay. So I did a lot of research. We got some folks to help us with some of that, and we discovered that Abraham Lincoln actually ran the Civil War via the telegraph. The State Department had a private company that would run wire from the executive office building all the way out to the generals, wherever they were. That wasn't very far away, 200 or 300 miles maybe, 400 miles. But whenever the Army moved, they would run a new wire. Well, these wires are still out there somewhere. But in the movie Lincoln, the one that was just about 10 years ago or 8 years ago, there's a scene where he goes into the basement of the executive office building, and he kind of shares his worries and his executive pressure with these telegraph operators. And those are the guys that were tapping out messages. Only about a decade ago, we discovered when they were doing some renovation at the executive office building, all of the telegrams that Lincoln had written and received from his generals. It's an example of the communication of the day and how it was used to basically fight a war and win a war. Gave him a great advantage. I bring that up because that's the internet. It's like there's a wire, there's a connection between here and there. There's a bunch of stuff in the middle, but the ability for you to talk to me instantly around the world anytime, that's profound. And it kind of started with Lincoln.
And also profound that it is literally a connection as opposed to something that's just in the air. Right. I think people think it's just out there somewhere.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. They do things magic, you know. Yeah. It's not magic. It's technology, it's engineering. It's a lot of people keeping it going.